Welcome back into CBS Sports HQ. It is Ryder Cup week, so get all of your USA gear ready and get ready to cheer on the boys at Bethpage. It is the 45th Ryder Cup, Team USA versus Team Europe. We like that it is back in the States because the host team has won the past 5 years. How loud do you expect it to be? Because you can't actually cheer here. Maybe how rowdy the trash talking is going to be. Get this, Jacqueline. Team Europe has been wearing virtual reality headsets to get ready. It's like, I want to know.
Like, do you, boo? I don't know. Like,
do you put in like some nasty insults in there? And like you're listening to it.
You tap into their virtual reality and,
Rory, you're terrible.
Trash talk the screen.
You're terrible.
Whatever it takes to win. We need a win.
Let's dive into it. Let's welcome in Shane Bacon. You take a look at the weather there that we can expect over the weekend. Hopefully the rain will stay off. Talk to us about the course. What do we need to know about Bethpage Black, or Black Bethpage as you say it? What do we need to know about this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, this is a golf course, Amanda, that historically and typically is one of the hardest that you'll see each and every year when they play it in professional golf, whether it be a U.S. Open or in the FedEx Cup playoffs a few years back. It's not going to play as difficult as maybe you expect it to play, considering the signage and the history of this golf course. The rough's down, the greens will be quick, but I expect scoring. I mean, Ryder Cups, in terms of the setup, they want to see birdies, they want to see eagles win holes. I mean, even the first hole, which is a dogleg right, it's kind of a tough driving hole typically in terms of the way it plays. The tees are moved well up, and you're going to see guys like Rory and Bryson have an opportunity, if it's downwind, to drive the first green. I mean, at Tillinghast Design, you think about some of the great Tillinghast designs in professional golf. You think about Wingfoot, you think about Baltusrol. These are tough golf courses, and this is a very tough golf course, but I think a little bit of the bite has been taken out, considering this is an event where you want to see scoring win holes. You don't want to see pars necessarily dominate.
Shane, you don't know this, but I royally screwed up my knee skiing this year, and that warning sign is a trigger. It looks like a diamond black warning sign, like do not approach unless you're very ready to play this golf course. Talk to us about the format. Things get underway tomorrow on Friday. Obviously, normally we're ready to Thursday. This gets underway Friday. What is the format and scoring like here?
Yeah, so Friday morning will kick off with foursomes. So you'll have 2 against 2. Basically, foursomes is a fancy way of saying alternate shot. So somebody tees off on the first hole, then their partner hits the next shot until they hole out and they switch on the next hole. It's a golf course where there's going to be a lot of strategy involved in terms of that specific format. When you talk about alternate shot, you're going to see a lot of the bigger hitters hit on odd holes, especially somebody like Rory who likes to turn the ball right to left. And you're going to see a lot more of the iron play approach players hitting golf shots into some of the even holes around Bethpage Black. And then in the afternoon, it switches to 4-ball. Again, another fancy way of saying best ball. Everybody plays their own ball, and the single best score between the Americans and Europeans wins that hole or ties that hole. So you'll do that on Friday, same thing on Saturday, and then into Sunday. All 12 play on Sunday, and it's Sunday singles, and that'll decide it. I mean, typically it's relatively close going into Sunday, and with 12 points up for grabs, it's typically decided. The Americans historically have done better in Sunday singles. We'll see what happens. But whoever plays well historically, especially as of late, in the alternate shot, in the foursomes, goes on to win the Ryder Cup. Okay, so then when you look at those foursomes and not Sunday, which team do you think has the edge? You know, I think when you look historically at this event, it's always been the Europeans. I actually like some of the potential matchups for the Americans. We're about an hour out from finding out who's actually going to go out on Friday morning. One of my big hopes for Keegan Bradley is I hope Justin Thomas and Bryson pair up together. I think in terms of the raw boys on the American side, there's not a lot of them. A lot of quiet guys that are going to be representing Team USA this year. The 2 loudest guys are Justin Thomas and Bryson DeChambeau. Their games fit extremely well together. Bryson, one of the best drivers in the world. JT, one of the best iron players in the world. I hope to see those guys not just pair up, but I'd love to see them go out first. I think that could be a huge boost and bump for the Americans. If you get the momentum going with those guys, I think that'll feed in to the 3 other matches for Team USA and for Keegan. So of all the hopes I see, that's the one I really lean on. And then when you look on the other side of things, I think you're going to see Rory and Fleetwood play together, which is interesting because a couple years ago, you guys had the graphic from 2023. Tommy Fleetwood was not one of the best players in the world a couple years ago in this event. Right now, Tommy Fleetwood is a top 3 player in the world when you look over the past 3 months. So it is interesting when you think about Rory and Fleetwood going out together, but that matchup has worked very well. Expect to see that in the morning for Luke Donald and the Europeans.
Shane, if you were picking a Ryder Cup team, how would you go about it? Because as you mentioned, in the words of Jacqueline D'Agostino, maybe not a lot of aura with Team USA. I feel like that's necessary here, though. Is it not?
I think it's necessary. You know, I chatted with Harris English, who's on the American team last week for a podcast, and he mentioned that they used, Keegan and the team used the Georgia football personality test to pair up players and kind of their auras and their personalities, even outside of the golf course, pair up together. I think it does matter. And when you think about aura and you think about the advantage on that side of things, away from the golf course, away from skill set, all these guys obviously are really, really good at golf. But I think in terms of personality, you lean heavily for the Europeans. I mean, 11 of the 12 returning. These guys love playing this event. It means so much to them. And when you think about aura and you think about personality and you think about guys who are going to get up for this, maybe get in the face of the guys they're playing against, that edge to me leans heavily on the European side with guys like Rory and Jon Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton and Shane Lowry and beyond. I think they're going to be very into this more than maybe some of the rookies you're going to see on the Americans.
Okay, I'm going to say I'm going to put some pressure on Xander Schauffele because he's been hilarious leading up to this event. So I'm going to put a lot of pressure on him. Tell me about the weekend. Who goes into the weekend with the lead, do you think?
I think it's going to be really tough for the Americans just to maintain the momentum going into the weekend, considering the teams the Europeans have put out in the past and the teams we're expected to see in the sense of pairings. So I think the Europeans are going to be leading most of the week. I hate to say this because I'm really, really hoping for a close Ryder Cup. You mentioned the success of the home teams over the last 5 Ryder Cups. The winning margin over those Ryder Cups has been 6.5 points. I mean, it's been a blowout basically since 2012. But for me, I just feel like this is leaning heavily towards the Europeans doing something very unexpected in these Ryder Cups, and that's winning as an away team. I just think this European team is as stacked and as good as we've seen in a long time, and I think they have the confidence and the belief in themselves to go out there and get it done. Rory has said one of the hardest things to do in golf right now is win a Ryder Cup on the road. I think this European team 1 through 12 is ready, and the captain is ready to do just that.
I will say, look, Team USA is the slight favorite at -146 right now. Europe is +124. But as you mentioned, very close. Okay, who wins?
I think it's Europe. I think you're going to see it. I just feel like Rory's amped for it. I think the team is so stacked. I think you can hide a couple of the guys. Sepp Straka, Shane Lowry have not played great golf over the last few months. You can hide those guys when you only have 2 in the sense of that. They've got more experience. The Americans have a ton of rookies out there. Obviously, the home turf matters and Scottie Scheffler matters, and those 2 things are important. If Scottie wins 4 points, it's going to be tough for the Europeans. Scottie and his partner did not play great a couple years ago in Rome. I just think a lot is stacked up against the Americans, and I think if we're ever going to see this really flip for a visiting team, this is the year it's going to do it, considering all of those factors and all of those intangibles.
I don't know what these guys need to pump themselves up. I'm like, do they take shots? Like J.J. Watt used to listen to Adele. Something. They're going to have to figure out something, Shane, because I'm not liking your answers. But we do appreciate your time. So have so much fun. We'll talk to you soon as we get ready for the Ryder Cup kicking off tomorrow. If you'd like maybe some winning bets on this weekend, make sure to check out the Early Wedge, part of the Early Edge podcast. You can listen to it or download it, scan the QR code, and watch it. Breaking news on CBS Sports HQ. If you are a fan of the Ryder Cup, we have been waiting for this. Day 1 foursome matches have just been released. So taking a look at the list, all of these guys teeing off between about 7:10 a.m., 7:58 a.m. as well. Jon Rahm, Tyrrell Hatton going up against Bryson DeChambeau and Justin Thomas. Ludwig Oberg, Matt Fitzpatrick versus Scottie Scheffler, Russell Henley. How about this? Rory and Tommy Fleetwood, they performed very well together against Colin Morikawa and and Harris English, and Robert McIntyre and Victor Hovland versus Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay, who are very good friends. But let's ask our experts what they think about the foursome matches getting underway tomorrow at Bethpage. The weather should be pretty nice, a little chilly, a little overcast. We have Mark Immelman here, Patrick McDonald. Mark, I'll start with you. John Rahm, Terrell Hatton versus Bryson and JT. Bryson and JT, they've been paired together before at the Ryder Cup. This is the pairing that Shane Bacon said, I want this group to bring all the vibes for Team USA. What do you think about them?
Yeah, sort of everyone was opining that we'd see this matchup here, and going out number 1, 2, just to set the tone, which I got to be honest with you, Amanda, the tone doesn't need much setting right now with these New York fans because they are rabid. But as far as that grouping goes, Captain Luke Donald going with what I believe is, if not his strongest lineup, certainly his second strongest in Rahm and Hatton. And if you needed somebody to neutralize the energy of Bryson DeChambeau and Justin Thomas whipping up the crowds into a froth, it's Rahm and Hatton, because the two of them, they mix it up well with each other. They're up for a battle. They're not afraid of a little heckling. In fact, I feel like it's almost energy. It fills up their energy reservoir, if you will. So it's going to be a fun match. But as I'm looking at it right now, I feel like that's one, very much like in Rome 2 years ago, that Rahm and Hatton can set the tone for the Euros and get an early point.
I totally agree, Mark. I think Bryson and JT leading off for the Americans was probably the worst kept secret buzzing around Bethpage Black this week. And when you're Luke Donald and you pretty much know what Keegan Bradley is holding in his hand, you counter with your best duo. I know Rory McIlroy and Tommy Fleetwood probably has that title, but you can avoid that Bryson-Rory drama, maybe save it for later if you need a little bit of extra juice. But you counter with Rahm and Hatton, who went 2-0-0 in Rome. Rahm has never lost in foursomes. He was great with Sergio Garcia as well at Whistling Straits. They started it off in 2023 in a winning fashion as well. And so I think if you're Luke Donald, you have to be thrilled with how this first match really shaped up for you. And if you're Keegan Bradley, like Mark said, you don't really need to add juice to this environment. There's going to be plenty for everyone to drink out of. And so it's going to go one way or another, completely different ends of the spectrum, I think, with this Bryson DeChambeau, Justin Thomas group. It could be great. It could go really bad. And I can't wait to find out tomorrow morning.
So Bryson and JT were not a secret, but Keegan Bradley is not saying who's going to take the first tee shot. Does it matter? Who would you like, Patrick?
It definitely matters, especially in foursomes. I think you need the longer and the better iron player to tee off on the odd holes. And in this duo, it would be Bryson DeChambeau. That would give him a lot of the high leverage shots. Number 2, the approach. Number 3 and 4, the drive on 15 as well later in the match, including approach shots into 16, 17, and 18 if the match does reach that point. So it absolutely matters. And I think it will be Bryson striking that first tee shot.
I would I hear what you're saying, Patrick, but I also want to talk to you too. If he does, then a lot of the holes that ask for draws, Justin Thomas is going to get off the tee, and Bryson DeChambeau likes to go from right to left. So look, it's up in the air right now. I'm sure they've gamed this out. In fact, there's no doubt they have. And I'm sure they looked at the data as to the thing as well. I would agree with you, though. If you're looking for the better iron player, Justin Thomas is your guy. So I'm likely to see him teeing off on the second and Bryson opening up.
Mark, talking about mixing things up, let's go to the next group here because you have Ludwig Ober going in, and Matt Fitzpatrick, excuse me, so many names, like just to say, against Scotty Scheffler, Russell Henley. Ludwig not paired with Victor Hovland. They performed well together. Russell Henley and Harris English, they were roommates in college. Are you surprised that they've kind of shaken things up here?
Well, look, Scotty and Russell Henley, I got to say this. In Montreal, at the President's Cup, Scotty found his partner. Folks have tried him with Tiger Woods. They've tried Scotty with Sam Burns. They've tried him with all and sundry, but Russell Henley is Scotty's guy, and these two are unbreakable. Mentally, they are so strong. They're good buddies. They pair off well against each other. So you knew they were going to be a grouping in terms of Scotty and Russ. And as for Ludwig and Fitzy, Ludwig and Victor were a fantastic pairing because of language and such like that. But as I look at this now, because I questioned the grouping and questioned splitting Ludwig and Victor, but Matt Fitzpatrick plays a really calculated, really well-crafted sort of a game. And I feel like with Ludwig hitting him off the tee into the fairway, Fitz could have a whole lot of fun with the iron game. So the more I look at this in foursomes, the more I like this group of the Euros.
Yeah, I think both of these duos are super complementary skill set wise. Like you mentioned, Mark, Russell Henley is going to put the ball in the fairway. He's probably the shortest hitter of the 8 that are going off Friday morning, but he's going to be in the middle of the fairway every single time for Scotty Scheffler, and vice versa, honestly. And if Henley tees off on those even holes, he's going to have plenty of wedges, and Scheffler, if he goes off on the odds, mid to long irons, where we know he is by far the best in the world. And then on the flip side, Ludvig Åberg is still a tremendous driver of the golf ball. And if there is a little bit of a hiccup, I would say it is kind of on the greens or around the greens a little bit. And that's really where Matt Fitzpatrick has thrived throughout 2025. I will say I am a little concerned because I do think Matt Fitzpatrick's Ryder Cup record does weigh on his mind just a little bit. 1-7-0 across 3 Ryder Cups, has not had a good time in the United States. 2016, when he came in as a 21-year-old, did not go well. Neither did Whistling Straits. So I'm interested to see Ludvig, his first time in the United States, alongside Matt Fitzpatrick.
Let's go to the next one. Those guys, by the way, at 7:26. Working down the line here, we have Rory and Tommy Fleetwood. Maybe no surprise there, versus Colin Morikawa and Harris English. Mark, with Rory and Tommy, they're so familiar with each other. They've played together before. How big of an advantage is that here?
It's a big advantage. And you look at the two of them, and, you know, like I said to Patrick before we went hot on the show, that you can throw resumes out the window as soon as the first tee goes in the ground tomorrow morning, because you've got to manage emotion, you've got to bring game and such. And as far as form goes, I want to say about Matt Fitzpatrick, his form has been incredible running into this Ryder Cup. Obviously, Tommy Fleetwood's has as well. And then there's Rory, who's found a lot of game here recently. And his last outing, he won in an emotional victory at home in Ireland, where he came back and chased down the young man, the Swede that he was playing against, and eventually won the tournament. So guys with a lot of form there, and not just a complementary pairing in Rory and Tommy. They're playing well. And as far as Harris English and Colin Morikawa are concerned, that match is going to be a handful for them, and they better bring all their game.
Yeah, Rory and Fleetwood are going to be a very difficult task for Morikawa and English to handle. I do like how Luke Donald kind of moved McIlroy and Fleetwood around. You go back to 2023, they led off the afternoon session. They played anchor in the morning session that Friday. I know in Rome, McIlroy specifically wanted Cantlay and Xander to kind of shut up that perfect record that Xander and Cantlay had in foursomes, and he certainly did that. But I look at this United States pairing, and I have a number of questions for Keegan Bradley. You look at these 8 players on the golf course, outside of English and Morikawa, many of them are the longest in the field, the exception being Russell Henley, who has paired so beautifully with Scotty Scheffler. I think that's an okay outlier, but this Morikawa English group, neither of them hit it very far. I think that could be detrimental for them. We're going to find out very quickly what kind of Colin Morikawa we have in this Ryder Cup. If it's good, he's going to be able to really put the United States over the top, maybe threaten Fleetwood and McIlroy in this match. But if it's bad, we're going to find out very quickly.
All right, Patrick, you have a lot of questions there, so let's go to our last foursome. We have Robert McIntyre and Victor Hovland on the European side, Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay on the American side. They are very good friends. Patrick, do you like this one maybe a little bit more?
I do. I think this is probably going to be the tightest match of the morning, if I had to guess. Xander and Cantlay, they have been great in President's Cup and Ryder Cups together, specifically in foursomes. They have probably a few more question marks with their game coming into this year, not quite in the form like they were in 2023 or 2021. Xander missing the Tour Championship for the first time in his career. Cantlay kind of finding some form with his putter with new coach Phil Kenyon, so that is a positive for that team. And then on the flip side, the European team, I think pairing Victor Hovland with a good driver of the golf ball in Bobby McIntyre and a very good short game chipper and pitcher of the golf ball in Bobby McIntyre is really great for Victor, because he was the second best iron player on the PGA Tour, behind only Scotty Scheffler in 2025. If he gets plenty of iron opportunities, he is going to convert on those. And we've seen Victor Hovland on the greens in big moments convert big putts. So I'm really looking forward to this match. I would not be surprised if it goes the distance.
Patrick, you made a really good observation when you used the term over the top. And if I'm a captain here and I'm looking at the final match, the anchor match, because as we've kind of broken down these first 3 games, it looks pretty evenly matched. And so you're looking for that anchor match to be able to come through, and they're going to come through for you with a point, whether it's a half a point or hopefully a full point. Now, as it pertains to Xander and Cantlay, they really have been an immovable force. in foursomes. But Xander, the form has not been so great, and he hasn't played competitively since the playoffs. So for me, the verdict's out a little bit, even though he's so decorated. Patrick Cantlay, well, we know he has ice in the veins, so I feel like putting that combination back together is going to almost lift something in Xander Schauffele and toughen up that pairing. And then you look across the ring at Bobby Mack and Victor Hovland. Well, Victor's kind of cool and crazy, and he's got a beautiful mind, and nothing really phases him. And when he was asked about what are you going to deal with the people heckling you, and he goes, look, whatever they say is not going to be as bad as what I've got going on in my head. And Bobby Mack is like Braveheart. He's up for everything. So this is the kind of match where I look at the Euros and those two guys are tough. I look at the Americans and those two guys are tough. So it's almost the ultimate matchup of anchor groups. And this one is going to be a fun one to watch.
It is interesting how much personalities come into to all of this and kind of where their mindset is when they move around a golf course. Mark, let me ask you this. We talked to Shane Bacon earlier, and he said he thought it would be Team Europe having the lead going into the weekend. He actually thinks they are going to win the entire thing. When you look at the foursomes, how things are going to start, has anything changed in your mind with how this tournament's going to unfold?
You want to try and get the advantage, Amanda, as far as possible. Now, that's no guarantee because there's still a lot of golf left. But if you're the Europeans, you want to kind of quieten the crowd as much as you can. And if you can get a split in this thing, something like 2.5, 1.5 foursomes tomorrow morning, that will go a long way to their cause. As for the Americans, exactly the opposite. If you get out there, you get a bunch of red on the board early, you whip this crowd up, then all of a sudden that 13th man, the New York fans that everyone talks about, then they're really brought into play, and then it could get, I'm not going to say a romp because there's a lot of golf, but you could really stack the odds in your favor. So tomorrow morning's session is very important, and I feel like it's going to be nip and tuck.
And I am a bit curious how Keegan Bradley is going to deploy the rest of his rookies, sitting 3 of them in this morning's session. The case could be made that they were the most informed players behind just Scotty Scheffler with how well Ben Griffin, Cam Young, and J.J. Spawn have played this last half of the season. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Morikawa plays poorly tomorrow morning if J.J. Spawn slots into that foursomes grouping with Harris English come Saturday morning. But I'm in a pretty similar boat as Mark. I think this is going to be 2-2 down the board. I think Europe takes the first and the third match, and I think USA takes the second and the fourth. And then we'll just see what happens in 4-ball in the afternoon, where I do believe the USA does have a slight advantage. So I see the red, white, and blue taking the lead into the weekend by a very thin margin. But if it is 2-2 in the morning, I think that does technically mean a win for the U.S., just given how poorly foursomes has been for them in the past.
I'm glad you mentioned Colin, because I was just reading about how he said that the practice fans have been very tame, and he is calling for absolute chaos on Friday. So hopefully we get it. That is what we as fans want to see on television when it comes to the Ryder Cup, within reason, Mark. Within reason. Look, you have very good manners. We'll try to have good manners as people are cheering along.
Wait. I'm an American citizen now, so I don't have divided interests. So
okay.
I'm pulling for my buddies to play well. How about we say it that way?
That's a good way to put it. Enjoy tomorrow morning. I know you guys will have your alarm set nice and early. Patrick McDonald and Mark Immelman as well. If you'd like maybe some betting information, I will tell you the odds have changed just slightly when it comes to who they think will win this. Right now, the U.S. is in a slight lead right now, according to our partners at FanDuel. But get some good info from our friends over at the Early Wedge, and you can watch it or listen to it.
On the eve of intensity, a behemoth awaits. Friday morning, Bethpage Black will open its gates to 50,000 plus. 24 men standing at the center of what is both Coliseum and museum. The 45th playing of the Ryder Cup only hours away. Opening session pairings released on Thursday afternoon. It'll be foursomes, more commonly known as alternate shot. And what better fit for the big course and the big moment than the big golfer? Bryson DeChambeau will offer his own flyover with a corner just asking to be cut. He and JT taking on a familiar duo in Rahm and Hatton. Game number 2 includes world number 1 with Scheffler and Henley opposite Ludwig and Fitz. Roar's good for match 3 and match 4 anchored by American stalwarts Cantlay and Schauffele. It's been 2 years worth of talk, so what's 10 more minutes? CBS golf analyst Shane Bacon in with reaction to Friday's AM pairing. Shane, We have thoughts top to bottom, that I know, but I just want you to picture this for a moment. The fog is burning off, the sun creeping over the horizon. Bryson DeChambeau emerges from a tunnel of Long Islanders just frothing at the mouth. He sets his shoulders on a line that nobody else sees, Shane. What do you expect of the emotion Friday morning?
God, you're bringing me in with a Musso pros to kick things off. Golly, I feel like I'm really back and ready for the Ryder Cup. Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel Bay Hillian with the possibilities here. I mean, obviously a very different looking Bryson DeChambeau years ago, sending driver on a par 5 that nobody ever has tried to send it on since the John Daly days. I mean, it's exciting. This is what I've asked for. I mean, if you go through the CBS preview show, both Patrick McDonald and I asked multiple times, give JT and Bryson an opportunity to kick this thing off. They're the two biggest personalities on Team USA, and I think that's exactly what Keegan sees as well. Opportunity to get the crowd in it right away. That being said, let me just say this. This could crash and burn, and that is the one thing I'm at least aware of right now. These are two golfers that ride momentum greater than probably anybody in the modern game, and if the momentum, and especially in this format, goes south, I think this could lean heavily on a couple of Europeans that have been extremely successful in this format in the past.
Bay Hillian will also be going into the lexicon, that I can promise. The margin, Shane, you know this, they're ultra thin when you get the talent type that we have here on both sides of this matchup. Some points do swing off decisions made before the tee shots even fly. What was your initial reaction when you saw these pairings? I know crash and burn comes to mind, but where did your eyes go?
I think it went to what Luke Donald saw, not just this year, but saw it a couple of years ago. I mean, you see Rahm and Hatton, they were perfect in this format a couple of years ago. You see Rory and Fleetwood, they were perfect a couple of years ago in this format. I like the idea of throwing a Fitzpatrick out with somebody that I think he could lean on in terms of skill set. I mean, Fitzpatrick has played excellent golf as of late, considering the way he played, basically post-U.S. Open win out of Boston. He needs something positive to happen, and he's going to have his hands full, obviously, with the number 1 ranked golfer in the world. I'd say you look at Europe, and all of this to me makes a lot of sense. You look at Team USA, of course, they have a ton of rookies on this team, but there's a lot of maybe matchups or partnerships that could be confusing or at least seem confusing. I really look at match 3 there with Morikawa, obviously going up with Harris English, and I look at a player on the American side that has not been great as of late. Harris English is playing in a second Ryder Cup. I know he's amped up and excited for this, but they are going to have their hands full in that match 3. And to me, this looks like a European at least winning this session, if not dominating this session like we saw a couple years ago.
Wow, I do want to pull at a couple of those threads here because you make a great point on Fitz, but hands full there is he's a couple bad sessions away from having one of the worst Ryder Cup records, and we know how much pride the Euros take in that resume note when it's all said and done. It's steady rain on Thursday that we saw. We're expecting more on Saturday night into Sunday AM. I only offer that because of this. Carry distance comes to mind when things get soggy, especially a course of this length. What do you make of Captain Bradley rolling out Morikawa in English? It's the only really real pairing that lacks elite distance off the tee from one of the two participants.
You know, I mean, Harris English isn't a short hitter, and Morikawa is going to hit a whole bunch of fairways, and I think that is important, obviously, in a rain-soaked Bethpage Black. But, yeah, I think one thing I think a lot of people pointed at, if you look at kind of the golf Twitterverse, if you will, confusion maybe that Cameron Young didn't at least get an opportunity in this particular format. That being said, I mean, it's very easy to critique these things until you see the balls in the air. Mm-hmm. I do like the idea of seeing long hitters in this particular format, but you also are going to need them to make birdies in 4-ball as well, obviously getting into the afternoon. And I think the players you don't see for Keegan Bradley here, you will see, you know, Friday afternoon when we get into the other format.
And the way Bethpage Black sets up, you can put your bomber on the long ones. You can get your striker on most of the par 3s. They will go opposite of McIlroy and Fleetwood. That is English and Morikawa. McIlroy and Fleetwood 2-0, as you alluded to, in foursomes back in Rome. Specific to the format, Shane, we point to alt shot as a uniquely European exercise, but recent history tells us it's really more of a home side advantage. Advantage in foursomes. How pivotal is this first session? I know you lean Euro, but why, in your opinion, is the correlation between home side and success in alt shot?
I mean, maybe it's more comfortable. Maybe it's the crowd. Maybe it's energy. I think alternate shot is probably, in terms of golf format, it's probably the most personality driven. Obviously, you can play so much on your player. You know, I think something so funny about best ball or four ball, as we call it, in a Ryder Cup, and this happens in any best ball match in the world. You're playing with a partner against two buddies, you know, at your local muni, is you're really playing your own golf ball in your own game. And you can lean on strategy a little bit, but at the end of the day, you're holding your own shot and your own putt. Obviously, when you talk about alternate shot, it's completely different. It is reliant so much on your partner and the energy they're providing. It can go both positively. You can also hit good shots, see chip ins, make long putts, and it kind of carry you along the way, maybe if you don't have your A game. And it can go the other way as well. Obviously, if somebody's struggling off the tee or with their irons or missing putts inside of 6 and 7 feet, that can kill the energy of a team. So I think when you talk about personality driven, chemistry, all of the quote unquote intangibles that go into team golf, I think they're most on display when you talk about alternate shot, because that's really the most reliant you are on a partner in all of golf.
And we know the main rule of alternate shot: no I'm sorries.
Don't say sorry. Never
No,
say
I'm
sorry. No.
Shane Bacon, I
Can't
know
do it.
you will not apologize for your pick, but I know what your pick is. We've been talking Ryder Cup for the better part of 6 months now. Let's make it official on the eve of those tee balls finally flying. Your pick to win the Ryder Cup is who?
I'm going to go, I guess, by the odds with an upset. I think Europe gets it done. I mean, 11 of 12 returning. This team is so stacked. I understand the importance of this in terms of what Rory McIlroy has brought to the team room, what John Rahm has brought to the team room, Justin Rose, knowing this is probably his last real opportunity at a Ryder Cup, Luke Donald and the captains, the experience, the understanding of how important this is, and the more comfortable side on that as well. I look at the Americans as potential upsets in terms of unfamiliarity with this event. But when you look at the European side, to me, this is as polished a group as we've seen in terms of opportunity to upset as we've seen maybe in 10, 12, 15 years in a Ryder Cup. I would be shocked if the Europeans don't get this done.
Wow. He is Shane Bacon. That is his pick. You can catch him all weekend long on Sirius XM Radio on the call here for the 45th playing of the Ryder Cup. Shane, we can't wait, pal. Thank you. A look here at the all-time Ryder Cup records. Home course advantage, massive. Anytime you get one of these going, the last road team to rattle off a win was the 12 group, the Miracle at Medina. In fact, the only European wins on U.S. soil, 87, 95, 04, and 2012. Shane Bacon says we're going to add 2025 at the end of this week.